Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Art Appreciation, Art Expressions, Functions, and Philosophy. So, this is one of our first lectures for this semester, and I'd just like to thank you for turning in some very interesting insights on Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk. And you were also able to share really creative self images, and you'll see that in our virtual classroom. If you're not there yet, please join our virtual classroom on Facebook. I'll put the link down below. And let's begin with the hashtag Mugna Creative Challenge. Okay, this is your creative challenge for this month, the month of February, or for the next 2 weeks. And we'll begin with a little inspiration, still from Sir Ken Robinson. He talked about how schools kill creativity, right? If you remember from the TED Talk you watched last week. And he said creativity is the process of having ideas that have value. So I think all of us are capable of having ideas. But the thing is, a lot of people along the way have made us feel as though our ideas do not matter, or as though our ideas don't have the potential to make a difference. And one of my personal goals in this class is for you to be able to see that your ideas do matter. They matter. And I'm going to be grouping you. You're going to find your groupings within our virtual classroom, and you're going to be working with people to think of crazy creative ideas that can change your community. And who knows the ripple effect that will come out of this creative challenge. So, let's proceed. Your creative challenge, the Mugna Creative Challenge, is basically to think of one crazy or creative idea that can change the world. Okay? So the big picture is this creative challenge has to change the world. But you can start where you are. Okay? That's isn't that the secret recipe for changing the world? Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So first you're going to have to think of a problem that you want to solve or a need that you want to meet. Okay? A problem you have to solve or a need that you want to meet. Now you have to make it as specific as possible, and it can be either a local problem or something that is experienced by many people around the world. I'll give you an example. One problem that I think a lot of us see in rural areas is that when senior citizens kind of run out of the strength to keep working, not even in rural areas, even in city areas, when our lolos or lolas kind of run out of things to do, and all they do is probably just magbantay sa apo, no? They're going to take care of their grandchildren, and they kind of lose the motivation. They lose the sense of purpose. Some of them tend to forget more often. Some of them tend to feel lonely because maybe their children don't visit them very much anymore, or their grandchildren sometimes are too much into their gadgets, and they feel like there's no one who really understands or who wants to spend time with them. So one of the ways, so this is obviously a need that you can meet. There is a need, the growing loneliness among senior citizens, or perhaps this growing sense of a lack of purpose for them, right? 'Di ba? Na ay mga tigulang ta ma-encounter nga moingon sila, nganong wala pa man ko kuha sa Ginoo nga gikapoy naman ko. So that's a need. And now you're going to brainstorm creative ideas in order to solve this problem. And the question that you want to answer is, how can we use art in different forms to solve this problem? What can art do in order to meet this need? Okay? And I'll give you an example. The next step is perhaps, what can we do for senior citizens to engage them, to make them feel less alone? And how can I use art to do that? Now, the key is you have to be as open as possible to each member's ideas. You don't want to shut people off just because their idea doesn't sound good, one of the key things that I think helps in team brainstorming sessions is just to have each member share a crazy idea without worrying about what others will say. So for example, class no, namoy meeting, team meeting, and magpalibot mo, and isa ka tao, isa ka idea. And wala sila choice because they're gonna have to give an idea. So if assignment ninyo, okay, tonight you're gonna think of an idea, and we're gonna meet online tomorrow, and you're gonna have to share. No matter how bad you think that idea is, you have to share. So when that happens, and you're like, okay, no one's gonna judge, no one's gonna contra your idea. Just share it, and then the team leader or the secretary will then jot that idea down. And the magic that happens when you do that is each member kind of has the safe space, 'di ba? Wala judgment, you're free to share, and because of that freedom, you're not afraid to make mistakes. And because of that freedom, you get to express yourself. And you don't know, you just might have the best idea ever. So, one of the ways that you can perhaps meet this need in the community is you can have like a senior citizen Saturday where you organize little pop up art workshops. And art includes music, right? Dancing and painting and theater. So you have these little pop up workshops in different barangays or in different houses around the barangay. And what you do is you gather any art materials that you find, or music, or let's say you have something like just indigenous materials that you find lying around the house, and you challenge senior citizens to create together. And then that engages them, that gives them a sense of purpose. So that's one way you can meet a need using art. You can have so many other ways. You can use volunteerism and art. You can use flash mobs. You can use just drawing sessions, mentoring sessions. There are so many ways that you can use art for social good. So try to brainstorm with your team, and just choose one problem that you want to solve, something that is close to your heart, or something that you think you can act on immediately, or it's something close to you. Okay? So anyway, let's proceed. That's our Mugna Creative Challenge of the month. You're gonna have to present your idea through a video or a slideshow. Okay? And upload it on YouTube, and then comment the link in the submissions post in our virtual classroom. I'm only gonna ask for one submission per group, and your deadline is on February 28th. Now, if you need more time, you know that you can always ask me for more time. Okay? Let's proceed. Okay, so last week it was all about creativity and imagination. And one of the things that Ken Robinson, or Sir Ken Robinson, said is that we are educating people out of their creative capacities. I believe this passionately, that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it. Or rather, we get educated out of it. And if you remember, I asked you, what do you think? Do you think that schools really kill creativity nowadays? And I think one of the things that Ken Robinson emphasized is this culture of stigmatizing shame, right? I think we can relate to this, no, na we don't want to speak up in class kay mahadlok ta that our classmates will laugh at us, or that we make a mistake, or we say the wrong answer. And I think a lot of us can relate that growing up, there was kind of this culture that you have to be right. And I'm not sure if you've tried this. Maybe you've been shamed in the past because you submitted something that wasn't good enough for somebody. Or even your own parents might have made you feel that you're not good enough at home. Or someone important to you has made you feel just that you've fallen short in so many ways. So, this fear of mistakes, this stigmatizing of failure, is kind of the killer of creativity. And what we want to shake off, or what we want to accomplish in this class, is to kind of shake off this fear of making mistakes. And in the next couple of weeks, I hope you discover how we can do that. Okay. So, again, creativity, this is according to Merriam Webster, our best friend. It's the ability to create. Now, this is the simplest dictionary definition there is, the ability to create. And I think it's in our DNA, this ability. When we were younger, we would tend to kind of imagine different things with our ordinary objects, right? We would uh, probably use hangers as swords in sword fights. We would probably use blankets as tents, or what else did we do? Back in the day, I grew up by the sea, so we would just pretend to play bahay-bahay or house, 'di ba? And you would use the kanang mga bagol sa kilid sa dagat. Gamito nimo nga sudlanan sa sabaw or lutuanan. I think kids, being kids, we just have this crazy, wild imagination, and we're able to put things together and to create new things out of already existing things. Now, that's creativity. Second, we have the concept of imagination. And imagination is basically the act or power of forming a mental image of something that's not present to the senses or never before wholly perceived in reality. So remember, the key word or the key term for imagination is this mental image. And when you imagine something, you see this person, and this person is closing his or her eyes, and there's this entire galaxy within this person, right? There, you can create worlds with your imagination. And I think as a kid, I'm not sure if you can relate to this, but as a kid, I really loved books. So I'm sitting in a cafe with a lot of books, and books were my best friend. I think this one might be familiar to you, The Fault in Our Stars. There's a lot of books here if you want to read. And I lived in books because I was such a weird and kind of lonely kid. So I would save my allowance to buy a new book every so often. And dira ako, magpuyo ko sa akong mga libro. And books would always give me the opportunity to kind of live in another world or to travel to another destination. So that's the beauty of imagination. Now, when it comes to creativity and imagination, there is a distinction between the two. However, they're not supposed to be divorced from each other. Okay? So when you talk about creativity, we're talking about something that's practical and concrete. Okay? Something you can actually touch. It deals with already existing objects that can be perceived by the senses. You can see it with your eyes, you can smell it with your nose, you can touch it with your hands. And it involves producing something that's both valuable and original. So remember, those two components of creativity are critical. Something has to have value, and something has to be original, never before seen or heard of. But some people say there's really nothing that's original, right? But we have these inspiring ideas that no one else around us has thought of, you know, and they bless, or they give value to other people. They help other people relax or enjoy, or they make someone laugh. Okay, that's how you know that something has value, because it's affecting the people around you. Now, when it comes to imagination, as you can see here, is theoretical and abstract. It involves mental images, okay? Again, mental images. And they may not necessarily be real. You might be thinking of an elephant with the tail of a cat and the sound of a dolphin, just like the imaginary friend of the kid in Inside Out. So something that's imaginary is not limited by what exists. It is beyond what exists. And imagination is the key to creativity and innovation. So, again, they're not divorced. And if you've been watching the news lately, or if you've been scrolling through social media, you know this photo. So, this photo is a picture of the wedding announcement of the Binjin couple, right? Crash landing on you. And when you think of creativity and imagination, you want to think of this couple. They're two people that are brought together because they love each other and they have to exist for each other. And that's what creativity and imagination look like, right? Creativity is the practical side. Imagination is where it all begins, where the crazy ideas are birthed so that you can be creative. Okay, there you go. That's the Binjin couple. Kawai kawai. And you know what? Let's hope for them because I think they're really sincere. I think they could last as a couple, so hopefully they will. Now let's go to art expressions, functions, and philosophy. Okay, so this won't be long. We're just gonna go over most of the art expressions. Most of them are already familiar with you. So, or most of them you're already familiar with. So first we have literature. So literature involves poetry, drama, story, and all those. We also have the visual arts, painting, drawing, sculpture. So something that you see with your eyes. Then we have the graphic arts, which generally it's all about being expressed on flat surfaces. If you can see, the visual arts and the graphic arts kind of overlap. So painting and drawing and design and even going digital. These are all parts of the graphic arts, but they're expressed on flat surfaces. Okay. Then we have what's called the plastic arts. Now, this is really interesting. When you think of the word plastic, I think today, living in a very eco friendly world, plastic kind of has a negative connotation attached to it. But just a fun fact, plastic arts um, are actually not like the cellophane plastic that we know of today. So when you say plastic arts, plastic derives from the Greek word plastikos, which means capable of being shaped or molded. So plastic as a material, you know that, right? It's super easy to manipulate, at least before it hardens or before it is yeah, before it takes on a more permanent shape. So those are the plastic arts, and the key to the plastic arts is they're flexible and they're being molded. Okay, you're molding something. And when when you think of plastic arts then, or when you think of being plastic, it means okay, I'm a flexible person. Kung naiingon mo plastic ka. And you're like, yes. I'm flexible and I adjust, di ba? Kaya kong mag-adjust. Kailangan natin ng mga taong ganyan these days. Okay? Next, we have what we call decorative arts. Decorative arts involve animal work, furniture design, mosaic. So decorations from that term, no, what you see just over the things that kind of the function of decorative arts are to beautify, right? Or they present patterns and images that are pleasing to the eyes. Okay, those are the decorative arts. Now let's go to, okay, the second half of that, the performing arts. So we have theater, dance, and music. So artist ka if you love to do theater, if you can dance, if you can sing, right? Or if you can play an instrument. Those are the performing arts. There's also a different category which is just music as composition. So kung ganahan ka magsulat og kanta, no, that's a form of art. Or if you love to create your own instrumental pieces like lahi man ang ganahan ka maminaw and then imong kopyahon or imong kantahon, lahi po nang ikaw muhimo sa imong own nga tono, 'di ba? Or you write your own sheet music and you play it on the piano or on the guitar. So that's a different thing. Now we also have architecture as a form of art expression, and that often includes interior design. 'Di ba? And then cinema or film, which you will be getting into after art appreciation. You're gonna have film appreciation. And lastly, you have applied arts. Now, the applied arts involve craft, furniture design, needlework, pottery. These are mostly kind of functional means of using art. So it's a form of art that serves a specific function in the real world. Okay, now let's do a quick quiz. Or it's not a quiz, it's a game of sorts. Now, this is crochet, right? You know what this is? It's crochet. And what kind of art expression do you think is crochet? Sige nga, if you know, comment below. Okay, what type of art expression is crochet? Okay, it's correct. It's an applied art. Tama, very good. Okay, something else. What about this guy? Okay, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's quite famous. And he's also quite nude. But this is a very famous work of art. Now, unsa ka ni siya nga klase or unsa ni nga expression sa art? Right. This is a sculpture, and this is a type of visual or plastic art. Now, remember, ga-overlap na sila. Ang sculpture is a type of visual art. You can see it with your eyes. And it's plastic art because it involves the act of molding something. Okay, and this is The Thinker, or I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Le Peinture by Auguste Rodin. This was modeled in 1880 and cast in 1910. Now, if you don't know about The Thinker, Google it. It's a very interesting piece of art. Ah, this one. What about this one? This is a. Okay, you know what this is. I'm not going to say it. Okay, what type of art expression is this? Okay, this is a visual art. And it's a painting. And this is The Starry Night by, eto mahirap din to i-pronounce, no? Medyo controversial yung pronunciation ng name na to. But I'm gonna try. Vincent van Gogh. 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 I don't know how to say that. He's Dutch. So I'm sorry if you're Dutch and you're hearing this. So this was painted in 1889. Now, sige, let's do this. Let's pummel through the next topic, functions of art. And when we talk about the functions of art, we're asking two fundamental questions. Number one, why does art exist? Number two, what is it for? So parang sa tao lang yan. Why do you exist? And what are you for? What purpose are you going to serve? Okay, so why? This is actually rooted in the word telos. It's a Greek word. And telos is basically purpose, right? This was thought of by this guy. If you know who this guy is, comment below. And if you're the first person to comment who this guy is and you're correct, I'm going to give you an extra 5 points. Okay? So comment below. And if you're the first person to comment, 5 points. Okay, so this guy is Aristotle, right? And he's a Greek philosopher. And according to his philosophy, everything has an inherent purpose, end goal, or reason for being. So, yun yung telos ng isang bagay, 'di ba? It's the purpose of that thing. And telos is intricately linked with function. Now, according to Aristotle, for a thing to reach its purpose, it also has to fulfill its function. So basically, kung meron kang if you have a goal, how you get to your goal is to fulfill your function. If you have a purpose for being alive, how you fulfill that purpose is you act on the roles that were given to you right now. If your purpose at this time is to be a mother, then your function is to take care of your children, to feed your husband, perhaps, if that's the way your household runs, to educate your children, to guide them. If you're a full-time mom, of course, if you're a mom, you're always full-time, no? Walang, walang part-time mom. Hello to my mom who's right there beside me. But yeah, so you get that, right? Every Aristotle argued na meron talagang purpose yung art. And for art to fulfill its purpose, it has to act on its function, according to its function. Okay, so why does art exist? That's telos or purpose, remember. And what is it for? That's the function, according to its purpose. Sige, let's go. Let's go to the functions of art. Oops, balik tayo. So, I'm gonna just talk about 5 basic functions of art, and you can look for the rest if you can do some further studies or deeper studies into this, but we'll just talk of 5 basic functions. Now, first is art as therapy. I find this so fascinating. I'm going to give you a link to this video. Okay, I admire this video so much. It's a story by Great Big Story, and it's called "Giving Artists with Disabilities a Space to Thrive." Okay, and when you say art as therapy, art can be and is used as therapy for people with both physical and mental illnesses. Now, ito iba-iba to, and you're gonna be using this in your social work degree. I know that in your majors in the next couple of semesters, you will be making use of role playing or psychodrama. Now, role playing is a type of group therapy wherein you kind of act out your experiences in the past and you use that as a way to heal or recover. Okay? So you might have to act out traumatic past events or even happy ones. And that's going to help you kind of get through whatever you're going through at that time. Okay? Another way that art serves as therapy is that it can be a healing agent in times of disaster. So, a friend of mine, her name is Biu, and she runs Project Bohol mental health awareness. They use art to to kind of provide no to provide stress debriefing to kids who were affected by Odette. 'Di ba? Kasi traumatizing yun, not just for children, but for even for adults, especially those who lost their hopes. And one of the ways that people can recover is through art. Now, I'm gonna show you a couple of real world examples that I know of, but I'll be giving this video as an assignment for you. Okay? So I'll give you the link. Now, papakita ko sa inyo. Okay, ito daw yun. When it's art as therapy, ang gulo ng utak mo, you have a pencil and you have a piece of paper. You write out the gulo in your mind and you kind of feel better, right? I think many of us can relate. Sometimes I journal. That's the way that I deal with a mess in my head. So, how do you deal with a mess in your head? Comment below. How do you deal with a mess in your head? And if you comment below, I'm going to give you an additional 5 points ulit. Okay? How do you deal with a mess in your head? Okay, now let's go to some real world examples. First, we have Gojucate and the Mothers in Marawi, or Gojucate and the Mothers in Marawi. So, our team from Gojucate went to Marawi after the tragic things that happened there, the siege, no? And one of the ways that they were able to help the mothers is through basic literacy. And here they're using the power of song. Diba? Alam niyo yung moshi moshi, hola hola, hello hello, kamusta ka? Okay, I'm not sure if that's how it goes, but they use that songs and art drawings and coloring, 'di ba? Isa sa mga therapeutic ways 'yun when you have a coloring book. So they use these tools to help mothers help their children. And it's a really inspiring it's an inspiring example of how art can heal communities. Okay? Now let's go. Doon na tayo sa pangalawang function. Okay, malapit na tayong matapos. Number 2, art as artifact. Now, according to this, an artifact is an artwork that represents the ideas and technology during a much earlier time. Okay? So, what does that mean? Ano ibig sabihin nun? So, when art serves as an artifact, you're basically looking into a civilization na hindi mo naabutan, a generation that you may not be able to understand completely. And you're using art pieces from that point in time to understand. For example, ito, very basic example. Ito pag, hindi ko, siguro alam nyo kung ano to, no? So this is not the best form, but this is a, what? Ano to? Another 5 points for the first person who can tell me what this is. Can you see it? Can you? I'm just borrowing this from the coffee shop that I'm sitting in. Okay, this is yes, this is a lightsaber, and some people don't know what it is. But this is from an entirely different generation of perhaps baby boomers who love Star Wars, and then siguro the millennials na din, 'di ba? Who love Star Wars. Tama ba? Baby boomers ba? Baka ano, mali-mali na yung aking sinasabi sa inyo. But anyway, the oldest known art in the world, at least from what we know right now, is spray painted graffiti. So it's a painting on a wall, and it's on a cave wall in in Sulawesi, Indonesia. Okay? So this is amazing. You know why this is amazing? Because most people in the past thought na ang mga taga-Europe angat gyud sa uban. Kanang kung taga-Europe ka, grabe ikaw na gyud because the first forms of art were found in Europe. And so there was kind of this thinking that Europeans were more advanced in terms of civilization, in terms of how they thought of the world compared to the rest of us. Kasi sila yung unang nag-make use of art. But because of this artifact of a cave painting in Indonesia, now we know that the Europeans may not be as special as they think they are. Because Asians, Indonesians, already had art forms way before the Europeans had art forms discovered. Okay? So, syempre, this can still change, right? We can probably discover another artwork in another country. But at the moment, the oldest known art in the world is in Asia, in Indonesia, in the ASEAN region. We should be proud of that. Good job. Good job. If you're an Asian, you should be proud of that. Okay, now you have the personal function of art. For art's personal functions, you can see it on your screen. You want to be able to express yourself. You want to be able to communicate an idea. Maybe to entertain yourself. Or maybe you just do art for art's sake. Gawiris-wiris na ko, ma'am, para mo, okay, nagyapoy purpose, di ba? Gawiris-wiris ko, ma'am, kay murag, mahuwasan akong gibati yung magwiris-wiris ko. Okay, some people love to doodle or just write stuff nga walay pulos for them, but they have a purpose. The purpose is for them to be able to clear out their minds by doodling. So this is one of the ways that I also love to express myself, no? I paint or I draw. I'm not very good at it, but when I can finish an artwork, that's a big achievement for me because most of the time I'm paralyzed by perfectionism. Okay? Now let's proceed. Let's go to the social function of art. Art social functions can be in terms of political expressions. If you wanna just paint a picture of what's happening politically, how is the government treating the people? How is the media treating the government? All of these political interactions around us. And then the social function of art can also be in the form of art that reflects social realities. So this guy on your screen is my friend, my good friend, Hersley Van Casero. Now, Hersley is an internationally acclaimed photographer and he also is a painter, wonderful, amazing painter. So he's a multidisciplinary visual artist and he's also a street and documentary photographer. Nagaling, I've told you about this guy in the past, but I would just want to repeat that he makes use of art to capture social realities and to preserve it for generations to come. For example, he lives in Dumaguete, and one of the things that he's currently doing or he's been doing is a quarantine photo is worth 1,000 healings. Now, this is done in collaboration with Danielle Spontak and Civita's Quarterly magazine. And these are some of his snapshots and you can find these in hersleycasero.com, www.hersleycasero.com. And the way that he's using art no is specifically photography. So photography is basically painting with lights, 'di ba? You're painting because you're using how light is projected off something, how a light balances off with darkness, how light manipulates the colors in a surrounding environment. It's basically like you're painting using light. I love that description of photography. Now, ang galing kasi sabi ni Hersley dito, authenticity is his destination and his journey to authenticity is one that he deeply appreciates. So, this is how I've always seen Hersley's art. It always comes from a place in his heart. Okay? His art always reflects something that's real to him. And one of that is the quarantine, the pandemic. He's also affected by it. And so he's producing art that reflects the reality of the pandemic. He also said something else. So there's something that I really want you to see. Ah, something that he said at some point na parang he wants to capture the pandemic so that the generations to come would be able to look back and see, oh, this is what happened in 2020 to 2021 or 2022. Diba? In that period of time, this is how humanity was. Now, these are some of his artworks. You'll find them in his website. Okay? So, makita nimo, there's a really nostalgic element in Hersley's art because they come from a place in his heart. You see the plantito craze kind of melding with um, along the seashore in Duero, and I would pick up seashells and I would kind of keep them, right? I think you've had that experience too. Okay, next to Hersley Casero is another Filipino. He's a Dumagueteño also. He's a good friend of mine. His name is Nicky Dumapit. Now, Nicky Dumapit is an artist. He's a musician. He's an activist, environmental activist. And he makes his own instruments. He makes his own headgear. Kita nyo yan, di ba? It's a, yan bagol eh. What is that? Basta kay, gikan siya og, yeah, lubi. And he makes his own scooter. So, grabe, he's a really cool guy. And he uses indigenous materials to champion Filipino music and Filipino art and Filipino sports and Filipino culture. Galing, galing. This guy is really good. Now I'm gonna share with you. Okay, this is one of his works. So he's using creativity is making something new out of what already exists. Remember that, okay? So you're using real world objects and you're making something new out of them. Now, watch this. Nikki Dumapit is using a cutter, right? A very ordinary cutter. And he's also using a bottle cap, okay? Watch this or listen to this. I hope you can hear though. Okay, wait. Let me check if the audio is on. I think the audio is on. I hope the audio is on. So here, I'm gonna mute myself temporarily. So I'll give you a chance to guess. If you can guess what sound Nikki is going to make using just a cutter and a bottle cap, it's an animal sound. Okay, I'll give you 10 seconds to guess. And the first person to guess correctly will get another 5 points. Okay, so a cutter, and what is it? And a bottle cap. What animal sound is Nikki Dumapit going to make using these two ordinary household objects? Sige. 10. Animal sound. What animal? 9. 8. I think I can do a countdown on Canva. I'm not sure. Can I? I can't. Can I? I can't. I don't know. Okay. I can do that. Oh, that's 1 minute. Okay, kailangan 1 minute. Wag na lang, di ba? So, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, animal, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now let's discover what animal sound is he gonna make. Okay, and the animal sound is? Okay, it's yes, baki, whatever language you may have used. Frog. Very good. Thank you, Nikki Dumapit. Ang galing, di ba? Just using a cutter and an ordinary plastic bottle cap, and he made the sound of a frog. Isn't that cool? Now, one more. But this time, not gonna make you guess. Just listen for a while. Well, it's taking a while to load, but don't worry, I'll give you a link to this. It's on his Facebook page. And oh, here, there. Galing, di ba? And I think he's using an instrument that he also made himself. So he's very much in touch with nature. He's very much in touch with the surrounding environment. And I think that's one of the most inspiring things about Nikki Dumapit. Okay? Sige, padayon ta. Yeah, so this is Nikki right here, and this is Hersley and Tula. Tula is also an artist, and she is Hersley's muse. No, and this is one of Hersley's latest. What is it? Exhibits in Dumaguete. So galing, galing. Their friendship and the way they work together is amazing. And this is Hersley's latest exhibit in a gallery in Dumaguete. So check these guys out, support them online, and be inspired. Okay? And finally, we have the physical function of art. Now, art's physical function is basically found in artworks that are crafted in order to serve some physical purpose. Okay? So gets nyo na yan. Something that still evokes beauty, that still evokes creativity, that displays creativity rather, and exercises the imagination, but art still serves some physical purpose. Okay, one very good example for me is kintsugi. Kintsugi or kintukuroi. Now, kintsugi or kintukuroi is basically a Japanese art, and it is the art of ceramic maintenance. Now, this example right here is a repaired tea bowl from an unknown rakuware workshop in the 19th century, and the principle behind kintsugi is basically the repair of ceramic ware when something is, when something breaks, 'di ba usually pag may nagbe-break na when we break a baso or when we break what is it, a vase, usually we throw it away, right? That's what it is. Then mo tago-tago na yun ta, di na yun ta mo ingon nga kitay nakabuak. So that's kind of how we see things, that we can easily discard something once it's broken. But kintsugi or kintsukuroi values the potential of things that have been broken and celebrates it. Hindi lang values, kundi celebrates the cracks and the broken pieces. And how does kintsugi do this? It does this by using gold powder to fill cracks and to glue together broken pieces of pottery or broken pieces of ceramics. So, ang galing, di ba? Kasi something is already broken and supposedly wala na siya gamit. Pero by using something even more valuable, which is like gold, and gluing it together and then incorporating gold so that it can be really seen, then the object has actually increased in value. It's become even more valuable than before. And the concept is it's no longer the same object, it has been made new. It's now a new art piece, it's a new tea bowl, and it's far more valuable because it contains gold. Isn't that amazing? Now, the concept of kintsugi, although it does have a physical function, the philosophy behind kintsugi is even more precious because kintsugi celebrates beauty in brokenness. Okay? A broken object can be repaired and can be made even more beautiful and valuable. That is the beauty behind kintsugi. And I think just to wrap our lesson up for tonight, the wonderful thing about kintsugi is it kind of echoes back to what Sir Ken Robinson said, right? Sir Ken Robinson said that the reason why our kids are losing their creativity is because we have made them so afraid to make mistakes and so afraid to kind of break and chip some pieces of themselves because of their mistakes. And we understand that because the generation before us, they just want to protect us, right? We cannot blame the people who have gone before us because The way they love us is by protecting us. But the beautiful thing is that now we can kind of celebrate even the broken pieces of ourselves, right? And um, that's why Sir Ken Robinson is like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's the secret behind creativity. It's not about deliberately doing wrong to other people and hurting them. That's not what he meant. What he meant is be courageous enough to do something new and to not be afraid even if it fails. Okay? Now, I'm going to have to ask you some discussion questions. I'll leave you with these questions. Before that, this beautiful art form, I'd just like to share just two pieces of scripture with you. First is from Isaiah 64:8. It says here, "But now, O Lord, you are our Father. We are the clay, and you are our potter. We are all the work of your hand." So, this is me encouraging you, class, that if you feel as though your life is everywhere, remember that your life does not have to be under your control. Okay, you can give it under the control of the one who made you and who's still making you. Okay, look at your life as a pottery piece that's continuously being molded, and you are a work in progress. Okay, so be very patient with yourself. I have to tell this to myself too. And finally, echoing the concept or the philosophy of kintsukuroi or kintsugi, though the damage has been done, the Lord can make all things new. So if you're at a point in your life, and I know this, some of my students, some of you are messaging me right now, and you think that you've made mistakes that can no longer be reversed. I want to encourage you, the Lord can make all things new. So whatever it is that you're struggling with, if you are willing to give that to the Lord, He can turn it around for good. Okay, class? Now, here are your I will be posting some tasks or assignments for you in the next 2 weeks so that you can work on them. And when we talk about art philosophy, we're going to have to talk about who decides what art means. I'll be sharing the link to this video in our virtual classroom. And you're going to be joining a conversation of who really decides what art means. Is it the person perceiving art, or is it the person creating the art? And why does that matter? Finally, your discussion questions. You can read this and discuss it with the group that I'll be assigning you to. And then in our next session, you're going to be presenting your answers. Okay? You're going to be sharing what you've discussed with the rest of the class. Now, that's it for today, class, or tonight, actually. I'm recording this in a coffee shop in the library cafe, good cafe, free books. But you have to sit and buy something. So, apil na siya sa bayad. And thank you, and I hope to see you very soon. Please check our virtual classroom for announcements and activities. See you. Amping.